All right, so I know that in the scope of influencers and that type of thing that are out there, I am not anywhere near top tier. I don't have that many followers and all that, and I don't feel like what I've developed because I'm just so niche. The following that very famous people like the Athlete X guy or whatever. Have, and also that I am not built like those guys. I do not have the dedication or the consistency to be able to stand in front of you guys and be that unbelievably hot all the time. And that doesn't mean I don't have the education. I wanted to, kind of dress down for you guys, not wear this thing that kind of masks where my body is. And I know that a lot of you are going to say, okay, well, you're just fine. Well, I'm at 200 pounds for the first time in my life, and that is not because I've been putting on muscle. And this is kind of a very real situation that we're finding ourselves in where, where I am right now, this is kind of considered the new normal, and, it's not that terribly unhealthy. There are things that I would like to see myself be a lot healthier with, and cardiovascular endurance and being more active in general are definite things that I need to improve upon. And, so I actually, because I expect to be a little bit emotional on this one, and especially with everything that's going on in my life and being vulnerable like this, I feel that I needed to have notes here. So, I mean, I've talked about my personal condition, and the reality is like, and I've talked about this on this channel for a couple times now, that, I hurt my knee last year, one way or the other. We don't know the exact cause, but there's definitely been abuses, whether it was somebody going for a straight ankle lock that had a little bit of a twist to it, or following it in the French drain and hyperextending my knee, or my coach pushing on my knee and causing it to pop way back when. Falling on the stairs while working at a restaurant, like many things that have led to this injury, and it has just gotten to that point where it is an undeniable injury. It's going to be something that's going to follow me for quite a long time, and it's going to take a lot of work to get back from that. And obviously for somebody that is used to being very active, I am very sedentary these days, and I'm not happy with where my endurance is. I'm not happy with where my overall health is or my weight. And again, I know that some of you guys want to be supportive and you want to say, oh, you're not that bad, you're really hot and all this and It for me, I'm not where I want to be, because really, I am rounding 40 years old here in the next 5 months. It's going to be in August. And I'm not okay with being 40. I'm also not okay with not being in the best shape of my life. I'm in the worst shape of my life. I think I have at times been heavier than I am now with fat, and I've lost it all. I could be 25 pounds lighter, and I would actually appreciate that if I did. And this last week I went down to Vegas to watch Penn and Teller, which was fun, and wrestle with somebody that's been on my list for a while, and I had a lot of fun there. I did wrestle with him. I did a lot of body scissors, got crushed a few times. That's kind of a fetish of mine, and I just really did have a lot of fun when I was down there, but it's costing me. My knee is very pissed off at me right now. It is hard to walk, it's painful, it spasms, and it feels like when your kneecap's being ripped off. It is just kind of a disaster. And the fact that this has been a limiting factor, that anytime I want to do the thing that I love the most, anytime I try to do that, I hurt myself, and this is probably going to be how it's going to be for a while, which of course affects my motivation to continue doing videos for you guys. It affects me in a lot of ways, and what it's kind of come down to, especially in this winter, is that I am in the house, and I don't want to go to the gym, and I don't want to exercise here because I just don't have the motivation and it hurts. And so I've had more computer time than I care to admit. And this is something that, like, I'm sharing this because a lot of you are probably in a very similar boat. And I've met with some of you that I know that you're struggling with your weight, and I want to say that I understand where you're coming from, and I understand, like, you want to get into the sport, you want to play with other hot guys, and people, maybe they're not paying attention to you because you're not comfortable with your body, or they're going to judge you for that. You're not alone in all that. And so I'm, struggling in my own ways, and part of the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I want to talk about what's out there as far as these false promised solutions. And so, it's not just my, computer habits and all that are getting affected by how I'm feeling. It's also my nutritional habits. Out of habit, I do eat breakfast every day, and because I have to cook for my husband, I cook dinner every day. And in the middle of the day, oftentimes I don't eat, and that is a problem. It means that I'm overeating and overloading my system at nighttime by having this giant dinner, and then I'm having, my normal oatmeal in the morning, which there's a lot of health benefits to that, but really we need to be getting that, 3 to 5 meals per day so that we have an more even ride with our calories. And when we are struggling with depression, or we're struggling with, these factors that are in our lives, our habits like that get disrupted. And so, so having more consistent eating habits, definitely. I've talked about depression, nutrition-induced depression. It's a cycle, right? When you don't eat enough, or you eat sporadically, or you're not eating healthy things, your body's going to feel that. If you are somebody that is getting your calories through, a lot of your calories out of like sodas or things like that, that's a sugar spike that's going to lead to an insulin response, that's going to lead to a crash. And then you have the caffeine addiction along with that, along with the sugar addiction, both being in the same thing. And then, you're going through these cycles of basically, those are toxins in your body. And though I don't, believe in, detoxing or anything like that, or even the mention of toxins, but when it comes to, over sugaring your diet and things like that, that does get to a place where it is toxic. And I know that I've been very pro-carb on this channel. I am pro-carb in general, but the carbs that I support are ones that are released slowly throughout the day. In fact, I was actually just watching a video yesterday that was talking about brown rice, and that there are concerns about the arsenic in it, chopping up your insides when you eat it. There is arsenic in your brown rice. You're also going to find, I think there's cyanide in apples. There is, pesticides that can come through in bananas and strawberries and things like that. And every, whole food on the planet is going to have trace elements of something that is poisonous to you. Fish has heavy metals in it, but what we have to keep in mind that it really, really comes down to dose, right? So you can have a little bit of arsenic in your diet and it is not going to hurt you. You can have cyanide or strychnine or any one of these poisons in your diet. And it's not going to help you because your body actually is going to be able to process a certain dose of that. We just need to make sure that we're not overloading our systems. And that's one of the reasons why you have to be very careful if you go pescatarian, is because you're dosing those heavy metals on a more frequent basis. And so, that can be problematic. But I'm not going to tell you don't eat fish. In fact, having salmon or having any type of wild-caught fish is going to be very, very healthy for you in the overall, because of the omega-3s and whatnot that you're going to be getting in with that are going to be a lot healthier than, not eating. The benefits outweigh the flaws to that greatly, and we do have to keep in mind that any food that we eat is going to have those issues. So, nutrition is definitely going to affect your how you feel throughout the day, and whether or not you have depression, and how strong that depression is going to be for you. If I was not a lot more nutrition conscious than I am, I imagine that I'd be a lot worse off right now. And so the other thing is, got through a pandemic, and for a lot of people, the COVID-19 pandemic is still going on. They still cannot meet up because maybe they're immune compromised, maybe they have uncontrolled HIV, maybe they have any kind of number of things that is going to make it so that they cannot interact and whatnot, and so that's going to lead to health complications along with that, as well as depression. Not living the lives that we want to live is definitely going to affect us. And so we've mentioned, we are living in an obesity epidemic, and part of that, we have been talking about this calories in, calories out model quite a bit. And I don't know that I've actually used that phrase that much on this channel, but it is what it basically comes down to. And I think that there are more nuances that we don't try to talk about too much in, personal training and nutritional training. That when you get your protein in, that matters. How you space it out throughout the day. In fact, I was going to do an entire video on just that, and so we'll get to that at another time. How we get our carbohydrates. If we front load all of our carbohydrates first thing in the day, and it's all just simple carbohydrates or something like that, we're going to burn out very quickly, and things like that. So trying to So yes, obesity epidemic, but we're also, the calories out is actually probably one of the things that we are more struggling with now than what we were struggling with in the past. I think that people are starting to wake up a little bit more when it comes to hyper-processed foods, that we are now shopping more on the outsides of our grocery store. So, a lot more produce, clean meats, some dairy, things like that. And that we are not having as much processed foods. And I know that I've recently come across another influencer who, doesn't like people knocking on processed foods, because we are living in, especially if you're in the US, we have these nutritional deserts where there isn't another option. I would say that, if you live in those areas where you can't get fresh produce, then start going for frozen. Make your smoothies out of frozen berries and fruits and whatnot like that. You will be healthier for it, and it's better than not having those things in your diet as well. Same thing goes for frozen vegetables. You can use cans. Sometimes those can be high sodium, so watch out for that. But getting your vegetables in, I don't know of a time that I feel generally healthier than when I have actually eaten a fair amount of veggies in a meal. In fact, I always feel so much better when I do. So that's one thing that I would mention. And then, our jobs are sedentary. We are sitting around all day. We are more of our labor-based jobs are being taken over. That may not be the case for everybody, but for a lot of us it is. So if you're sitting throughout the day, getting a Fitbit or something that counts your steps, or even an app. I think they have apps now for your cell phone that will count your steps throughout the day. Those types of things might help you, but it doesn't necessarily count for your exercise. Your exercise really, really should be 20 to 40 minutes of something that gets your heart rate up into at least zone 2. And then our entertainment, when we get into our house, we are doing, video games, we're watching TV. So there's so much media that is very, very accessible to us right now. And so in that downtime, we tend to flock to these things that give us instant gratification and things like that. I would say, if you're doing that, there are fitness games, there are dancing games that you can do now. On the MetaQuest, you've got things like Beat Saber. Those are things that can actually get your heart rate up, and they are fun, and they can actually get you moving a little bit more. And I would strongly recommend that if choose things that are in your fun time that are actually going to be more movement oriented. So it's very easy in these times to be turning directly over to whatever the newest fad is, and I've talked quite a bit about keto and how that's pretty much bullshit. I've talked about, we have diets that come in that are all basically the same thing, whether it's going to be South Beach versus the Atkins diet, things like that. Those are all forms of low carb diets. The benefit of those is that you're going to lose weight because you are not going to be retaining as much water. But as far as how those compare to balanced nutrition with a caloric deficit, so see, I'm kind of avoiding the D word there. I'll explain that in a moment, but these things do create a caloric deficit because you're changing your diet so dramatically, and oftentimes when you do that, you are going to be cutting out a lot of processed foods. Oftentimes, sometimes not always, but those dramatic changes to your eating habits might actually help you create that caloric deficit that you're looking for. But at what cost? And there are risks to having a high fat and or high protein diet. There was actually one of the more respected influencers out there was actually saying that there is no problem with going super high protein and stuff like that. That is not true. Again, I mentioned this many times on this channel that there's gout, there's cancer, there's heart disease now associated with high protein diets, and there's kidney disease, whether it's going to be stones or other forms of kidney disease that are associated with very high protein diets. So, and just kind of a point of fact here, when they say 0.8 per whatever unit of body weight, they're talking about kilograms, and in the US we use pounds. So you have to divide your weight by 2.2 before you multiply by that 0.8. And this is not just some random missed minimum dosage. We oftentimes will increase protein in certain, and I'm going to go over this again in another video that's going to be very specialized in this, but the protein range is not particularly that wide, and so and you'll find that to get the on average 60 to 120 grams of protein in a day, you're probably already doing that with your nutrition, and I will walk you through kind of how to look at that so that you can determine whether or not you need to do supplementation, because you shouldn't just pick up the protein supplementation just because you heard somewhere that it might help you gain muscle or whatever. It really is needs to be prescriptive, and so you need to actually kind of estimate where your protein is on a day-to-day basis before you make the decision to supplement or not to supplement. Liver King diet, I kind of just covered that. Super high protein diets, not very particularly helpful for you, and that asshole is on steroids, and that has been confirmed. So, these raw carnivorous diets, super unhealthy for you, super high risk. I would not recommend them. And then really the reason why I wanted to do this video is the newest trend, which is Ozempic or other medications similar to that are hitting the market. The thing that you need to understand about Ozempic and similar medications is that they are not a permanent solution. A lifestyle change is going to be the permanent solution. So finding that activity level, finding how to cook and prepare your own foods so that you have control over your nutrition, that is what's going to really get you into a healthier body position. And the thing about Ozempic is it's a very similar thing that happens with keto, which is when the moment you get off of it, you rebound and most of that weight is going to come back. I know that in some extreme cases, like if you are very obese and you have real hard time controlling your cravings and things like that, and you need to suppress your hunger, there might be an extreme case there where the argument for Ozempic is more justified, but and that's going to be similar to like doing a gastric bypass or something like that, where you're doing a surgical intervention in order to curb your hunger. But again, I think that really a lot of times those things are psychologically based, and so getting a mental health professional involved as well as a dietitian or nutritionist to find ways of getting you to not only eat better but also enjoy eating better, because that's the part that most of these diets completely ignore, is that you need to enjoy what you're eating in order to help with that emotional aspect of our relationship with food, but also not trying to treat our depression or anxieties or something like that with unhealthy foods. So, be honest with yourself. I'm not going to criticize you. Nobody else really should, because it's nobody's business but your own. But just try to get the best quality professional help that you can. And I would say even do that before even discussing Ozempic or gastric bypass surgery. And so I mentioned that I'd come back to this. I like to use the word nutrition when I'm talking about how you eat versus diet, because diet is generally going to be something that you are going to do for the short term in order to create a temporary change in your body. And once you get off of it, odds are you're going to go back to your old habits that are going to put you right back where you were. So what we really want to do in those cases is we really want to find what is the nutrition that you need. What is going to make you feel the best, and what is it going to be emotionally satisfying you as well as nutritionally satisfying you for the rest of your life. So really, really pick what you're going to do based on what you think is actually going to be sustainable, healthy, and have the lowest risks for rebound and or health diseases down the road. So yes, keto may sound like a very intriguing offer, like it's got a lot of promise to it, but you know, there is heart disease that's going to be associated with that. There are other diseases that can be associated with long-term keto use. So it's not sustainable. So why go through the drop, the amount of strain that's going to put on your heart, the amount of strain that's going to put on your muscular system, just to turn around and get that weight back? It just doesn't make any sense. And the same thing goes for Ozempic, unless you're in an extreme case where there's going to be a lifestyle change that goes along with that. So I'm going to go back to the top of this video a little bit. Again, I've talked about, you know, my body, and I'm in a guarded position right now, and I realize that, you know, I'm not comfortable with where I am, and I found myself in this very depressed state where I am not going out and I am not doing the activity, but I also have ADHD, and part of my ADHD is this anxiety around being late for appointments, letting people down. I'm a little bit of a people pleaser and things like that, and so I hired a personal trainer. I am a personal trainer. I do know actually more than he knew, and that was pretty obvious throughout. And but you know, 4 days a week, and I did 4 days a week because that's what made sense for my schedule. For most people, 3 days a week might be actually quite satisfactory if you can get yourself in the other two. I know me. I know that I am depressed. I know that I am low motivation. It's really hard to get me to do the things that I need to be doing in a day. I do things that procrastinate, like make this video, and that was meta of me. But so I don't get myself out to work out. I have everything I need here in the house. I still don't do it. So what did I do? Well, I used my anxiety about being late, about missing appointments and things like that, and I hired a personal trainer 4 days a week for the last 5 weeks. And you know, what happened was I was never late or missed an appointment because I used that part of my psychology against myself, or for myself. It was in my favor, right? So use what you have, use what you know to find out, because you're going to know yourself better than anybody else can. And so, you know, if you're going and you're using the gym as the way that you get your exercise in, get a gym buddy if that social aspect of it is going to get you there. If not, and if you just hate the gym or you feel too self-conscious about it, you know, get a basketball buddy, play tennis, do something, play soccer, join a swim league. I am very obviously very into spandex and things like that, and so I do lap swimming, and that's something I can actually motivate myself to do once or twice a week, at the very least, to try to get my endurance back a little bit. I enjoy riding my bike. Again, that's there's, you know, the spandex aspect of that that can play into it, but at the same time that hurts my knee, so sometimes I need to like get somebody else to come along with me who I can gawk at while I'm doing those things. So, you know, hacking your own brain, only you and or your psychologist can actually help you with hacking your brain, but understand that those anxieties and those other extrinsic motivators can actually be very, very helpful for you to actually get out of the house and do the activity that you need to do. So look at your life and say, okay, this is where my job is. Are there places like, you know, I get a break every hour for 5 minutes or whatever, I'm going to walk up and down the stairs on that break, you know, or something like that, just to get your steps in, just to get yourself more active, because again, we're in this world that's becoming more and more sedentary, and actually getting your movement in may actually be the more important element than even just nutrition at this point. So getting a gym buddy, and I kind of already catched on to this, and this is where I'm going to kind of close off this video, is the difference between accountability and enjoyment. Now, when people talk about accountability, and I've you know, I've mentioned that I've followed, especially early in my personal training career, I've followed Jeff Cavalier with Athlean-X and Sean Jawani and whatnot, and there are other people that I've listened to over the years. And I've always, you know, kind of applied the knowledge that I already knew to that information because, you know, both of those guys have a conflict of interest. Both of them sell programs, both of them sell nutrition supplements and whatnot, and those supplements are sometimes rather sketchy. So, you know, you take what you see with a grain of salt. But anyways, both these guys kind of, and they're coming at it from the perspective of somebody that generally, when we talk about the trans-theoretical model of change, you have pre-contemplation, which means that you're not thinking about making a change. You have contemplation where you are thinking about making a change, but you haven't started making a plan yet. You have planning where you're actually creating a plan. Then you have the execution of that plan. So that is going to be your like maintenance phase. So you've started the plan, you're continuing to do it, and then you have you know, two ways that can go, which is going to be like a chronic continuation of the plan, or it can be relapse, where you go back to the pre-contemplation stage, where you go back into your old habits and fail. And it's generally thought of that most people, probably 95% of the population, will basically go into eventually that relapse and fail stage of that model, and then they'll have to go through all those steps again in order to get back into a fitness plan. And then you have the very rare people that don't ever need that. So people like my husband, you know, he doesn't need motivation. You just need to remove the barriers from being in front of him, and he will work out like crazy, and there's no stopping him, even when you try. Trust me, I have tried, because sometimes he does it to the point where it's unhealthy. And I would say that, you know, for people like Jeff Cavalier and Sean Jawani, these are people that are probably going to continue to work out no matter what. They're not going to miss a workout any day of the week, ever. They could be dying of COVID and they'd probably still be working out. So, you know, not everybody's going to be able to get to that stage, right? And so when they talk about, you know, you're just not motivated, or, you know, cut the crap and da-da-da-da-da, and people get, you know, almost this abusive attitude when it comes to people being not motivated to get into the gym. Well, guess what? It's your job to get people in the gym, and bullying people, you know, doesn't create more motivation. You know, telling people to cut the crap obviously probably is not going to be that helpful in the long run. So what do we do is that we have to look at what are the motivators for you specifically, and I've just already listed off a bunch of them. There's like a fetish element when it comes to spandex. There is, you know, I actually enjoy swimming. I actually enjoy wrestling. Wrestling is one of those things that once you get me there and once you get me going, I can actually, you know, do that all day, and I get that oxytocin release, and I'm just, you know, feeling so amazing every time that I do that. I don't get that from lifting in the gym, right? So, you know, talking about accountability is you don't want to do it, and we're going to shame you into doing it, right? That's what accountability kind of is, and that's kind of the attitude that a lot of people have. And I don't think that's helpful for a lot of people, especially people who are already dealing with depression, or already dealing with feelings of maybe not being comfortable in the gym. You've got all these laziness factors and stuff like that. I don't like that word because I don't believe in laziness, but you know, there are mental barriers that are stopping you from getting in there. And to say, well, you know, we're going to hold you accountable and like pound you into the ground to get you there, that's not always going to be the thing that's helpful. So going out and seeking the enjoyment of exercise, whether it is that you are going to go out for a hike, or you're going to go for a bike ride, or you're going to go swimming, or you're going to play a sporty game with somebody, or you're going to play Dance Dance Revolution, or Beat Saber, or whatever. Look for the things that are the most motivating for you to be there, that you go and you're just like, that is the highlight of your day. And if you're getting out of there, and I think I've mentioned this guy before, there's a guy who was at the gym I used to work at, who would come in and he had his plug-in headphones in with his guitar, and he would get on the treadmill and he'd just get his deficit. And I don't necessarily agree that the treadmill is the best way of doing that, but he's just getting moving, and he's just, he never missed a day. And that was the way that he got himself into the gym and to actually get some movement in. And that is most certainly better than nothing. If he really wants to see real change, there's going to have to be something that's going to ramp that up. But at the very minimum, he is getting his steps in, and he's finding a way of enjoying it. And so that's what I would kind of encourage you to do. If you are not finding that lifting weights or running or, these more traditional things aren't motivating you, then stop trying to motivate yourself to do something that you don't want to do. Find the thing that you really, really enjoy. Hopefully, if you're watching this channel, that's wrestling. But, you have to get over your shyness. I strongly recommend that if you're into wrestling or grappling in any way, shape, or form, get over your boner anxiety, whether or not you're going to be outed in your school, because you're gay or whatever, and just find yourself a accepting, welcoming Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school and actually start learning how to grapple. If that's assuming that you don't have a wrestling club in your area, and let's face it, most of us don't. Even San Francisco or New York, their wrestling clubs meet, especially for gay men, only meet once a month or even once a week. You need more exercise than that, especially if you want to actually improve in any of those areas. So learning judo, learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's going to be your submission wrestling right there. And yes, I do still recommend working out in the gi, but that's me, and I have my biases for a very good reason, but they are biases. And get yourself out there. Do it. Stop making excuses for not going, because who knows, you might absolutely love it. You might find that that is the highlight of your everyday. That's how you decompress. That's how you release all that negative energy from this toxic political environment that we're living in. And you just go and you learn and you have fun. So I hope this is helpful. I know that this isn't going to appeal to everybody, and some people are going to say, oh, Chris is talking about depression again. I hope this helps you find, and for somebody out there, that this is what's really going to help you get, out there to actually doing what you want to be doing. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.